Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to New York State Bridge Authority meeting. Before we do our monthly meeting, we are going to do our governance committee agenda meeting. Committee members, myself, Mr. Roger Higgins, and Mr. Dan Lashaw. We have an agenda before us to adopt the minutes of the August 18th meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second, review proposed manager confidential compensation plan change and consider recommendation to the board. Move.
So moved.
Second. We went through this last month. It will be on our agenda later in the meeting to approve or disapprove it. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And third, review proposed code of ethics policy update and consider recommendation to the board.
So moved.
Second.
Second. I have one point of discussion.
Yes.
I'm going to ask about some. It's offline, I guess I should. Online.
Okay.
This language.
If I may, this is in response to the JCOP rule change that was made this past summer. We had a number of discussions on. In effect, what we've done with the Code of Ethics is added the section that recognizes the requirement that outside activities be reviewed and have an approval procedure for compensated members of the authority. And we believe that since the Code of Ethics already applies to the Board of Commissioners, that the board is in compliance with the rule and the regulation.
The one 5, Roman numeral 5 under E.
Under E.
Was record the receipt of gifts or gratuities of any kind received by an authority. And that might mean from grandma or from,
You want to address that?
I didn't hear the question.
the item Roman numeral 5 under E, under
Implementation of the Code of Ethics?
Yeah.
No. That's prepare a report.
it says record the receipt of gifts or gratuities of any kind received by an authority employee. And I wondered if there were any limits on that, because it could be somebody's family giving a gift for
If
Christmas.
grandma has a vested interest in the
Yeah.
Easy Pass contract,
Precisely.
and you get a gift from her, it's illegal,
Right.
and you need to report it.
Right, but that means I need to report all the gifts.
But it's only gifts that are given to you in connection with, your business, your connection to the authority.
Right, but it doesn't qualify like that, that's all.
The whole code is basically designed in effect your position as a commissioner, not,
Well, yeah, that'd be understood, but it's not qualified like that. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Carl, you reviewed all this stuff with the state office, right?
I did,
Everybody's
yeah.
in compliance with...
Right, you all are, and it's, the change that was made was very slight. It doesn't really change anything as far as you all are concerned.
We're actually we're a little ahead of the curve
Right,
on some of
we
this
are.
stuff than other entities out there, so.
It affects our paid staff, but it affects you very little.
Any other questions? If not, we'll bring this before the board meeting later on, have a vote on it. All right. Any other business? If not, motion to adjourn, second. All in favor, say aye. Committee of the whole act on behalf of the Audit Committee and Finance Committee. Audit Committee is the Chairman, Mr. Higgins, Dan Lashaw, and George Maglia, which he's not here. Finance Committee, Rod Dressler is Chairman, myself, and Joseph's not here.
I would suggest that, ask that Mr. Higgins handle the meeting, with both the finance and the chair of the meeting, and he can handle the minutes. And if it gets too difficult, I'll be glad to help him.
In lieu of what he asked for prior to the meeting, right?
Well, no, it's a surprise.
Mr. Higgins?
Do it. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So this is a committee of the whole meeting acting on behalf of both the audit and finance committees. First on the agenda is to adopt the minutes of the April 16th audit and finance committee. I think we can do them both at the same time. Motion.
So moved.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next up is the operating budget. Brian?
The operating budget. Okay, first up is, as required under Public Authorities Law, Section 2801, the authority prepares its annual operating budget for the current and the coming year with documents to be sent to certain government officials, the governor, the state controller, and the heads of Senate Finance and Assembly Ways and Means. I prepared a fairly conservative budget. Some of the highlights: we anticipate hitting $56.3 million in total revenues for the year, up approximately 1.9% over prior year, which equates to about $1.1 million. Interest income will fall as bond proceeds are decreasing associated with the payouts on the Newburgh Beacon project. Will fall further in 2016. We will go and receive approximately $75,000 in federal grants for incremental security enhancements. Other revenue-generating programs, specifically the fiber optic leasing, the advertising, and the overweight vehicles, will generate approximately $6.6 million or $600,000. Bringing us to operating expenses, just to highlight some of the more important items. Salaries are anticipated to increase approximately $0.4 million as a result of contractually obligated wage and salary increases, along with some incremental overtime associated with bad winter weather in the early part of 2015. We anticipate approximately the same increase next year. One new item, employee retirement. This is a little bit different, so it'll require an explanation. In 2015, we reflected a decrease of $0.6 million compared to 2014, and we expect costs to rise by $0.1 million in 2016. This requires, unfortunately, a considerable amount of explanation. In 2015, the authority is required to comply with GASB 68. GASB 68 is accounting and financial reporting for pensions. What does this mean? Basically, on our statements of net position, or what is used to be known as a balance sheet, the authority is now required to go and place a value on the balance sheet that reflects the unfunded liability of pensions from the employee's retirement system. Currently, that is approximately 11% of the value. So what happens is each entity must go and place on their balance sheet that liability reflecting what isn't available in terms of assets in the in the retirement system. This year, it's a little bit complicated. Okay. So while one would expect a charge to the operating statement to go and reflect the creation of a liability on the balance sheet, because this was done as a prior period adjustment at the opening of the year, okay, it decreases the net fund balance to create the liability. But then, lo and behold, we had an actuary calculation that said the liability that's now in place as of the beginning of the year is smaller. So in effect, we have a pickup on the operating statement in the current year. So it reduces the value of retirement. That was really complicated, and I would hate to ask people to do it.
Being transparent, nothing is clear.
Yes, it actually makes it much more difficult to understand for many people.
Your fund balance decreased?
So our fund balance increased with a net decrease if you consider the establishment of the liability at the beginning of the year. Okay? But for the current year, it actually increased. So the liability was created as of 12/31/14. It's a little over $1 million. Okay, it decreased by $400,000 through the end of this year, through 2015. So net, yes, the fund balance decreased, but in the operating statement and the operating budget, it basically was a pickup. So it's confusing. It's actually, to some degree, it's distorting.
Right.
It's
also speculative and somewhat confusing because no public entity in New York has ever had to contribute any money to the pension retirement of any New York State retirement system employee. So this is an academic exercise more than a real exercise.
This GASB pronouncement was really aimed at states and entities or government entities such as Illinois. Okay, Illinois has a very bad underfunded pension problem, and it's not, amongst even some municipalities, some states, any entity that's running without, a realistically sufficient net value of net assets to support pension liabilities, that impacts their ability to go and pay debt. Okay, and from GASB's perspective, they're looking for a way to make things transparent. Why it's kind of difficult for us is, this year we saw a pickup of $400,000. Okay, based on how the assets move or the value of the stock market, based on actuary changes, depending on longevity of individual employees, the costs of health care going forward. How would I predict what it's going to be next year? Okay, so with that, I've assumed no change for 2016, simply because I have no idea how I would predict that. It's actually, I'm waiting to see some prevailing approach to going and trying to predict it. It's kind of too new. For us, fortunately, while it's material because it's several $100,000, it's not earth-shattering, and basically what we do is we treat this very in the same manner as GASB 45, accounting for other post-employment benefits, where we exclude it for purposes of calculation for the bond resolution. Okay?
Brian, but overall, I was just reading some article earlier in the week about the New York State pension, where it actually all municipalities are not going to have a bigger payout like they did last year because they have less amount of money. Will that affect us regarding that, or is that something completely different?
So that's a good point, and I'm sorry, in trying to explain the complicated part, I didn't get to the obvious part. The obvious part is our pension expense for the year, which is cash paid out, has gone down $200,000. Okay?
On top of the 400,000.
On top of the 400. So that's why when you look at our operating budget, you take a 200 and a 400, and it becomes a really big swing. Okay?
Once cash comes on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Is there a chance that the state will want to chip in and borrow, so-called try to borrow on that?
They've tried, they've been sued twice, and they've tried to put it back.
So they're always looking to.
Cuomo tried it,
Because
he got
they're doing it
sued.
the unemployment.
First Cuomo, and then Pataki tried it, he got sued.
So the prohibitions against it are in the Constitution. So it is possible that the Constitution could be amended. It's possible that we'd have a new constitutional convention and the people would change the Constitution, but
If there's something happened to
Beyond that,
unemployment
I mean, it
rate
is
now. There's
highly
all of a sudden our
unlikely.
unemployment rate jumped way up, even though we don't have anybody on unemployment. The state's jumped in there and has taken some money out of there for some other reason. And so,
That's just you, Rod. Nobody else.
But the Constitution prohibits raids on the retirement system. So all of those efforts in the past, the courts have struck them down.
So moving along, now that we're all clear on this.
I'm sorry, let me continue. So health insurance is, unfortunately, it's the opposite swing from employee retirement, and it's a similar makeup. So it's 200,000 approximate increase in cash out and 400,000 in GASB 45 actuary assessment. That's not new, so I won't go into that too much. Workers' comp, we continue to see increases in premiums. Next month, I will bring to the board what is currently an estimate of quite a bit higher. We're expecting approximately 100,000 increase in 2015 and another, approximately 80,000 in 2016. Commercial insurance is up slightly as we still see premium increases primarily associated with the various claims we've had in the last 3 years. Maintenance and repairs are up associated with winter weather and some traffic control costs with the state police. Electronic toll costs. It's good because we go and we continue to see an increase in our Easy Pass utilization, but at the same time, with the increase in utilization, we see higher charges. Equipment and depreciation, that basically we're up a little bit higher in that this year than last year associated with the acquisition of certain equipment. And then we projected to decrease in 2016 as a lot of the command center equipment that was bought 4 or 5 years ago will come to the end of its depreciable life. There are a number of differences between the Public Authorities Law required budget and the bond resolution budget, okay? For now, I will focus solely on Public Authorities Law budget, effectively describe, as we ran through the individual items, operating revenue, total revenue will be, or is projected to be $57,350 for 2015 with 2016 $57,200. On expenditures of, total expenditures of $31,431 and $33,286 for 15-16 respectively. And before I move to the bond resolution budget, I would ask that you all agree or disagree or any comments.
We have a resolution to adopt proposed.
This is the committee, so there's no resolution.
Oh, no resolution?
I'm going to make a recommendation to the board to adopt.
So we'll move this along. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good.
Very good. Next. Bridge system net revenues. As required by Section 7.13 of the bond resolution, the authority must submit its bridge system net revenues to the trustee for bondholders. Attached is a summary. More or less, this is largely the same document as what you had for the operating budget. The primary differences are really four of them. The first being retirement, so the GASB 68 discussion we just had. Second being health insurance, so GASB 45, which will function similar to GASB 68. The third being depreciation, okay, that's excluded. And the last being equipment, which is considered as part of the maintenance funds. With that said, we go and we come out to, with those adjustments in operating expenses, we come out to a total resolution-based operating expense of $26,800 for 2015 and $28,400 for 2016. What does this mean? It means that if you look to the last line on the second to the last sheet, it means we have an excess over our bond resolution requirement of $10.8 million for 2015 and $9.1 million for 2016.
Any questions?
Move it.
We're moving this to the full board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, last up for the committee is the budget and financial plan for 2016 through 2019. What this essentially does is it takes the operating budget for the first 2 years and it adds to it the additional, for 2016 it adds to it 17, 18, and 19. Typically the authority has trended expenses out assuming a approximately 3% increase in personnel-related costs and a 4% increase in all other costs, which it continues to do through 2019, and then the capital improvement program runs through 2020. This is required to be distributed and made available at four public places, so we distribute them to the bridges and leave them in the bridge offices. We're required to put it on our website, and we provide it in Paris for the governor and the controller to review as well. It's required that this be available for public comment for approximately 30 days. The authority typically puts it out in September, and the board would ultimately vote on it in November if there were no comments or changes.
Have you ever did any?
Not in the 5 years I've been here.
Any other business?
But I've been here.
Is there any other business to come before the committee of the whole?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. All right, regarding our agenda, we are here this afternoon on September 16th, a monthly board meeting. We introduced the board members here. We have Commissioner Rod Dressel, Commissioner Wayne Lashua, Commissioner Roger Higgins, Council Carl Wetback, and Executive Director Joseph Ruggiero, and myself, Chairman Richard Giarantini, and we have our directors and staff around the room here. In saying that, I'd like to amend September 17th budget to be added, IAG operating agreement to be added. Someone second? All in favor? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All righty, thank you. Adopt the regular board meeting of August 18th, 2015. Minutes of that meeting. Second. Any discussion on it? If not, first one will be Mr. Russo, regarding IGA operating agreement.
At last month's Easy Pass Group meeting, we passed a resolution to adopt an amended and restated operating agreement. Basically, what we had done was we had asked the legal committee of the IAG to take a look at the original operating agreement and all the subsequent amendments that have been authorized over the years, and consolidate them, do a little housekeeping and consolidate them into one new operating agreement or restated operating agreement. So Chris Shaw is on that legal committee, and she's, along with myself, have vetted it and to make sure we didn't gain or lose anything in the context of that original agreement and all the amendments. And so, since it is an official agreement of the between the authority and the interagency group, we're asking you to adopt it by resolution as well, to authorize Joe to execute it.
Move.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Wright.
Sir, good afternoon.
How are you today?
Very good. Yourself?
Thank you.
I'd like to go over the capital improvement program for the next 5 years as highlights for each bridge as we go through. Rip Van Winkle will be doing a sidewalk and railing replacement project in 2016 and 2017. Next down at Kingston, we'll be doing a deck overlay and electrical upgrades in 2020. Major work at the Mid-Hudson Bridge, we'll be doing the main cable inspection in 2017. And then at Newburgh Beacon, we'll be replacing the 9W overpass deck and raising the floor system in 2017 and 2018. And the North Span deck replacement design will occur in 2019 and 2020, with the replacement in 2021 and through 2023. And then at Fair Mountain, the main project will be the main cable evaluation in 2017. That's the highlights. Yes, sir.
Move. First, move. Second.
This one.
Dan?
What's Novichip? Sounds interesting.
It's a asphalt product that we use as an overlay. You got rubber.
More water resistant.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
You take old tires and ground it up to make it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be a waterproof membrane type of thing.
Just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Jobs in progress. Newburgh Beacon continues along. The last panels should be set this Friday. The bridge is still scheduled to be significantly complete by the end of October here, with traffic going to 3 lanes again, with just scattered single lane closures as they finish up the project. So things are moving along.
Roger, can't wait for that ribbon cutting job.
Yes, sir.
One of the, I just noticed the walkway railing rehabilitation, and one of the, I was wondering if there's any way to involve volunteers in that to replace work to save money. Because I know in a project that I'm involved with, we're using volunteers under the contractor who's replacing his charges for work. And I was wondering if there's any way the walkway can do that.
Well, this project's totally funded by Parks. We're not putting up any of the money for this, so, it's really
The type of construction involved is
pretty intricate.
suitable for volunteers.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We didn't move it? I thought we did. Sorry. Let's move it. Ron moved it, second by Dane. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jeff. Yep. Next, Brian.
Again. Okay. First up would be the monthly investment report. There were 4 investments for the month. One, the routine debt service, the other 3, the maintenance. All of those are reflected in the investment inventory. The maintenance reserve fund is currently sitting at approximately 37 million. Nice level as we completely expend or completely finish off and close out the Newburgh Beacon deck job. Interest income and yield, effectively we've bumped up as we continue to go and expend investments that were purchased on a short-term time maturity. Our yield rises. Okay, we've seen some increase in interest rates, but as many people are aware, the Fed committee didn't even raise interest rates today when they met. So we can probably expect to see continued low rates.
So on the 8/17/15 notes, it says 9.875%.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So basically, at 9.875, when they issue the note, if they issued the note how many years ago, okay, it still carries the same face interest. So we would go back and turn around and purchase it at whatever the prevailing interest rate of the market was now. So if you look, yield to maturity on the right was 0%, because essentially we're purchasing it with a 3-month maturity. So we didn't really make anything. We will go and make the cash flow, remembering that you're not purchasing the percentage value on a bond, you're purchasing the cash flow associated with it. And on that cash flow, we will go and have an approximate yield. The yield was so small, it was not even a rounding point.
Any other questions? No, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who moved it, right?
I've seen that before, I just didn't understand what it was, but.
That's just face value on the issue.
And now you did, yeah. Rod moved it, second by Nancy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did we move it?
Thank you.
We just discovered, Mr. Chairman, we might be mistaken in the minutes we adopted the wrong resolution attached to the heading. We're going to have to either revise 7 minutes for the next meeting.
So if you could withdraw the approval of the August 18th minutes, and we'll have a revised set next month.
So moved by who? Roger?
So moved.
Second? Rod? All in favor, say aye.
Thank you.
Brian?
Next up would be bridge system net revenues, which was discussed previously in committee. Unless there are any other questions.
So moved. Second?
Lastly is the
All
operating.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next?
Sorry about that. Last up is the operating budget, again discussed in committee.
Rod moves it, second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Ruggiero.
You have my monthly expense report. There's none. You have the traffic and you have the analysis report from Mr. Passes, as well as our easy tax sales analysis report. The information from the top.
Any questions? No?
What is the cost like of the internal? Would that come, does that come under something?
Not, because that's not my, it's not like personal expenses I'm incurring for the, but that's a function that would come under of our, yeah. This is the executive, if I was doing something, if I were to, an example, like make a donation, which we're not supposed to do, I will put it on here, things like that. I mean,
The fact that you haven't had one since you've been here, it's kind of, this is a holdover from the previous recommendation of an audit.
right. And the type of type of expenses that used to be incurred by the executive office.
Right.
It's required, but I don't travel, I don't do anything without authorization ahead of time.
Come with us to Dublin?
I don't fly. That's one of the reasons I think I got the job. So,
He meant Dublin, the place across the river.
oh, yeah.
Dublin Earth.
Or maybe Durham.
Yeah, there you go.
Go see the museum.
I know my buddy up there, the judge.
Do I make a motion, please?
Oh, okay, so we'll do that, okay.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Joe?
You have the report from the governance committee on the updated management confidential compensation plans, as well as the,
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
then you have the code of ethics update.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next item you have is a payment to Broadband Consulting for their work they've done for us in acquiring the sales of various fiber leases.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the last item you have is the approval of the Government Affairs Services contract with Wilson, Elster, Moskowitz, and Edelman and Dicker for their guidance.
So moved.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have no attorney-client, Mr. Chairman.
Just a couple comments before we adjourn. I'd like to thank Joseph and his staff and Tara for all their hard work regarding this past Saturday. It was a great success regarding the bridge authority to commemorate the 90th anniversary of the Bear Mountain Bridge and the 75th anniversary of New York State Bridge Authority owning the bridge. It was a nice event. I think whoever attended it had a great time. The weather was fantastic. And I want to thank the staff for all their hard efforts and work to make it come together. I don't want to start naming names because I'm sure I'm going to forget a few people, but it was a joint effort for everybody, and I think it had great publicity that a lot of people made comments, and I think whoever attended, and I know the Harriman family and the Perkinsville family really enjoyed it. So, thank you from the New York State Bridge Authority, and with that, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.